CLA, it is our birthday, and we are thrilled about it. Today is not so much about numbers. It's not so much about how many years, but what it is about a testimony. It's about 75 years of God's goodness, of God's faithfulness. It's about 75 years of lives being transformed. It's about 75 years of kids coming to know Christ, of youth coming to know Christ, of marriages being restored, of people's lives and eternities being transformed forever. It's about 75 years of baptisms. It's about 75 years of weddings and funerals and worship services and all of the souls that have been saved and discipled in this house. We are blessed here at CLA. Many have gone before us. You saw in the beginning of the video the list of pastors' names that have come through these doors and that they have laid a foundation on which we stand on today. So we have much to be thankful for. Today we celebrate the faithfulness of God in the past, but we also look forward to what God has for us in the future. Our theme today is this: honoring the past and embracing the future. We're going to be in Joshua chapter 4. And before we start, I want to give you a little bit of context, a little bit of background information. You see, the Israelites had been wandering in the desert for 40 years. Their leader, Moses, his time was coming to an end. And God told him to appoint Joshua to be the next leader. Moses then went to be with the Lord. He passed on, and Joshua was charged with the task to take these people into the promised land. They had been in the desert for 40 years, but God had something more for them. He had a promise for them, and Joshua was going to be the one that would lead them into the promised land. In Joshua chapter 3, the people of God, they're standing on the banks of the Jordan River during flood season. Now, theologians believe that there is up to about 2 million Israelites at this time. And they're standing at the banks of the Jordan, and on the other side of this massive river at this point is God's promise to them. It's the promised land on that side. And so they begin to pray and they begin to seek the Lord, and the Lord tells them, hey, you need to send the Ark of the Covenant ahead of you. And so the priests, they're carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which had the 10 commandments in it. They're carrying this, and as soon as they step into the river parts. Sounds like the parting of the Red Sea that happened 40 years before. So as these priests are standing there with the Ark of the Covenant, 2 million people see a miracle of God before their eyes. And they begin to take the steps that the Lord has ordered in front of them. And they walk to the other side through dry ground. Joshua chapter 4, verse 1. When all the people had crossed the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, now choose 12 men, one from each tribe. Tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan. Carry them out and pile them up at the place where you will camp tonight. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes of Israel. He told them, go into the middle of the Jordan in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick up one stone and carry it out on your shoulder. 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. In the future, your children will ask you, what do these stones mean? Then you can tell them, they remind us that the Jordan River stopped flowing when the Ark of the Lord's covenant went across. These stories will stand as a memorial among the people of Israel forever. Point number 1 today is honoring the past means remembering God's faithfulness. There are points in our life where we need to set up spiritual landmarks where we can look back and see the faithfulness of God, where we have seen what the Lord has done and we see how he has provided us, how he has sustained us, how he has carried us through this journey of life. We need to set up some spiritual landmarks in our life. This memorial was not just to be there just as a, hey, once we walk by it and see it every once in a while. No, this memorial was to spark curiosity in the next generation and the next generation and the next generation, for children to ask questions like, what's the deal with these stones? Why are these 12 stones here? Like, this is kind of weird. Why are these stones here? It's to begin a conversation to tell of the Lord's faithfulness, of what he had done in parting that Jordan River, and then sparking more curiosity and saying, do you think that's a miracle? You should have seen when God parted the Red Sea. You should see when God freed us from slavery. You see, spiritual landmarks in our life spark curiosity in others. Can I just tell you, you need to share God's faithfulness with others in your life. To your children, to your grandchildren. And if you don't have children or grandchildren, then any other child of that age who does not belong to you, you tell them. You tell them what God has done in your life. You inspire them and let them know that we serve a miracle-working God. You see, spiritual landmarks also show us that God keeps his promises. We need to look back so we can say, yes, look at what the Lord has done. CLA's history, 75 years, is like those stones. 75 years of stories. 75 years of God's faithfulness. 75 years of faith. 75 years of sacrifices made from those who have gone before us. 75 years of people who gave generously so the doors could stay open and so that they continue to meet people in Tehachapi and love them and lead them to the Lord. 75 years of helping missionaries around the world to spread the gospel. I wonder how many hours have been served in 75 years from volunteers making this place operate. I wonder if those who have gone to be with the Lord, if they're looking down on us today and saying, yes, look what the Lord has done. And they're honoring the past, but they also have their eyes face forward and saying, hey, it's your turn now. It's your turn. At the end of service today, I would encourage every single one of you. We have a luncheon that's happening in the Commons. We would encourage you to go over there. We have a meal provided for you. It's free of charge. We just want to hang out with you. We just want to fellowship just like the good old days. And I would also encourage you this. There are 2 tables in there that have, I think, 9 different photo albums of the past 75 years. I would encourage you, take some time, look through, see what the Lord has done. In 1950, a man by the name of Frank Simpson, who was a traveling evangelist, he started a tent revival down on F Street. After some time, some people came together, 13 to be exact. 13 people came together on September 13th, 1950, and CLA was formed. They took some steps of faith. They bought 2 lots of land next to each other on F Street for a whopping $600. But this is 1950, people. And they built the first church. You saw some of those black and white photos. Fast forward the story 20 plus years, and a new pastor came along, and because the church's name at that point was simply just Assembly of God. That's it, Assembly of God. And a new pastor came along and said, hey, we want to kind of give a little bit more information about who we are. And so they changed it to Christian Life Assembly in the late 1970s. And then in 1978, under the leadership of Pastor Tom Hobson, 10 acres of land was purchased, which is where we are today. 1978, the church that you and I are sitting in today was not built until 1984. So people had forward-thinking ideas of, hey, no, that's the great location for a church. We may not have the money yet to build it, but hey, we're going to believe that God is leading us there. And so they took steps of faith, and then they came together, and 6 years later, they began to build this. And most of the work on this church, in this building in particular, was done by the people of the church. Fast forward the story. In 1999, under Pastor Dale Sheely, the fellowship hall, what we call the Commons now, was built. And the classrooms were also built. You see, he had visions of what God was going to do. I met with Pastor Dale this last week. We walked the property together, and the church's fellowship hall was what we call the cafe. They could only fit at the most about 70 people, and he said we were growing and we needed a place to come together and have meals and do different events and different things. And so we took a step of faith, and we bought and we raised money to be able to buy and build what we now know as the Commons. And then in 2007, with Pastor Dale Sheely, once again, the New Life Center was built. That's where our kids meet right now. I spoke to Pastor Dale this week, and I asked him, and I said, can you tell me what the purpose of building that was for? And he told me two things, and he said, well, we had a school, and we wanted a place for kids. We needed a gymnasium for these kids. And he said, but what we were also doing is we were building a sanctuary. We were building an auditorium, and we were growing, and we were believing that we were going to need this space. I want to let you know that I, as your pastor, I looked in his eyes, and I said, I believe that we are going to be moving back into that gymnasium. I believe that the vision that you had many years ago is going to be fulfilled. We stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us. We stand on the shoulders of those who have prayed, of those who have fasted, of those who have sacrificed of their time, their talents, their treasures to pave the way for what you and I have today. Many people gave of their own finances, not even taking loans in some of the buildings that we have seen. They just raised it all in-house. The stories, I want you to think about the stories of how many grandparents, how many parents, how many children, grandchildren, how many families have come through these doors, how many people have been blessed, how many people's lives have been transformed by what God has done through CLA. Now, we honor the past not by living in the past, but learning from it and thanking God for it. Point number 2 is this, is that we need to embrace the present and we need to live faithfully today. You see, after Joshua had this memorial set up, those 12 stones that were built, he just didn't tell the people, hey, we've made it to the promised land. Now, y'all just go home and rest. Go build your house, just take a little break, and we're done. We have arrived. It's over. We have stepped into the promised land, and it's done. It was just beginning. You see, because they had to fight for the promises that God had put before them. They had to fight, and they had to claim the land, and they had to go through the land. And can I tell you, that's what we have to do now today. We have to continue to press forward. It's not time to get lazy. It's not time to say, well, look what God's done. We've revitalized the property. That's fantastic. That's amazing. We give honor. We give glory to that. But the mission is not done. There's so much more to do. We need to love God, and we need to love people, and we need to love people to God. So how do we honor the past? Being faithful in the present. Matthew 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand, where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. We are called to be a light in our city, right here and right now. Not just 75 years ago, but right here and right now. We are called to love on our neighbors. We are called them to meet them in the messiness and brokenness of their lives. We are called to help meet the needs of those in our community. We are called to send missionaries and support missionaries around the world. We are called to invest in our community, invest in the next generation. We have a mission before us, and we need to continue to press forward with what God has for us. We have been called to be a light in the city of Tehachapi. So can I just tell you, we need to shine. We need to shine bright, and we need to not try to hide it and just hide over the past 75 years. No, we need to look forward and say, what will they say about us 75 years from now? What steps of faith will we take? What sacrifices will we have made? How many lives have come through the doors in our time? How many souls have been saved in our time? How many people have I invited to church? How many people have I gone to their house and cried with them and wept with them and had meals with them and led them to the Lord? How will they look at us? We need to live here and now. And can I just tell you that I believe that CLA is a house of healing, is a house of hope, and it is a house of health. And our mission is not done. We're just getting started. We need to let our good deeds shine out for all to see, for everyone to see in Tehachapi, God's goodness, God's grace, God's mercy, God's faithfulness. How many of you have a car at home? In your car, you most likely have something in the dash area of your car. It's a rear view mirror. Now, the rear view mirror is there to help you see what's behind you. Right? It's to help you to see, like, so, hey, if something's coming up behind you, so you know, so that you're aware. But I want you to think about the size of the rear view mirror in comparison to your windshield, which is facing forward. You see, we need to be aware of what's in the past. We need to look at the past, but we need to keep our eyes on the future because it's what is ahead of us. And what God has ahead of us here as a church is so much greater than the 75 years that we've already had. You see, greater things are yet to come. But you and I, we have to do our part. We have to believe for what God has. Point number 3 is this: embracing the future by trusting God's promises. We need to believe that the same God who parted the Jordan River, who parted the Red Sea, who raised the dead to life, who have done miracles, we need to believe that that is the same miracle-working God that exists today for you and I, that exists in Tehachapi. It's not just stories from yesterday. You see, because God is alive and is active in our lives. And we need to call on him. We need to embrace him. We need to lean into what he has for our lives. The best days of the church are not just behind us. They can still be ahead of us. Ephesians 3:20 says it like this: "Now all glory to God who is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think." Our calling as a church is not just to preserve history. Our calling as a church is to make history. The mission is not completed. The mission is not done. As long as there are people who need Jesus in this community, CLA continues to exist. As long as it takes before the second coming of Christ comes, CLA exists, and the mission continues to go forward. So you and I, we have a responsibility to love and to lead people to Christ. If you've ever watched a relay race, the runners have a baton. There's typically 4 people in this relay race, and they have this baton, and as they are running, when their leg of the journey is over, they hand the baton to the next person, and they carry it the next leg of the race. Today, we look at the baton that's been passed for 75 years, which is incredible. Look at all the Lord has done, but now it's our turn to run the race that God has in front of us, and the race isn't over. There's so much more to do. There's so many more people to lead to Christ. There's so much more impact that we need to have on our community. So my question for you today is, are we going to run to the best of our ability? Or are we going to say, oh, it's so much easier just to look back at those last 75 years. Look what those people did. They did amazing things, and we're just going to get comfortable and sit back. No. God has more for us. It's our turn. It's our turn to run this race. Are we going to be a church that dreams God-sized dreams? To believe for the impossible. Are we going to be a church that makes history? I believe God wants to have a revival in Tehachapi. I believe God is about to unleash something new and powerful here. I believe that in the world that we live in right now, the gospel, the good news, is more relevant than it has ever been. I know the world that we live in, there has been some scary things that have happened over the last few weeks. There's been shootings, there's been murders, assassinations, all kinds of things that have taken place. We need to lead people to Jesus. It shows where we are as a society. It shows that we need people to turn from their sin, to turn from their wickedness, and to submit to the Lord. We need to do our part in leading others to Christ. So let's talk about God-sized dreams for just a moment. Are we going to be a church that steps into new opportunities? Are we going to be a church that steps into new outreaches, new ideas, new creativity? Are we going to be a church that continues to carry on God's love to others? I have a picture that I want to show you. And it's the picture of our new auditorium. Go ahead, Michael. Is it in there? This is just a crude computer-generated model of what the gymnasium could look like. Here's my God-sized dream. I've had the fire marshals come out, and I've had them tell me, how many people can we fit? We've actually already had the sign made. You may ask, why do we need to move in there? Because there's 779 people that need to be here. There's 779 people that can squeeze into that place. And when we grow to that size, we'll start another service. And we'll continue on because there are lives that need to be saved, souls that need to be transformed. There are marriages that need to be restored. There are families that need to be put back together. There are still people who need to be broken from their addictions. There are still people who need freedom in their lives. There's still people who need healing. There's still people who need the love of Christ, who people come in and love them in the messiness and brokenness of their lives. You see, CLA, the mission has not been accomplished. We are still on mission, and there's more for us to do. So I want you to begin praying. I want you to begin believing the Lord for what your part in that journey is going to be. What is it going to take for us to get into that new auditorium? I've had some people come out, and I said, what? How much? $350,000. Now, I know that's a lot of money. But it's a good thing we got a big God. It's a good thing that we have people who pray, people who believe, people who sacrifice, people who are going to take steps of faith. I've told you just in the last year what God has done in this place, where God started sending money from people who don't even live in this city. You see, it's not impossible. Anything is possible with the Lord. And so we're excited for where God is going to take us. And I just want to let you know that anything that you put in at this point for church revitalization, if you give to that, that is going to be headed towards the direction for us to get into that auditorium. Because I believe that there There's a mass awakening that is going to begin happening in America. And I believe that the gospel is primed to shine in people's lives. And so we need to prepare. We need to get ready for what the Lord is going to do. We need to trust God, and we need to do our part for greater things to come.